there, welcome to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Peggy, and Peggy says, my 6-year-old grandson is struggling with fear and anxiety. He's been to a psychologist, and they've talked about the worry bug in his head. I'd like to know your thoughts on how to share this understanding with small children. Any advice would be appreciated. So, yeah, Peggy, it's so hard, I know, to see the little kids struggling with all of this, with worry and fear and anxiety. And I think it's great. Obviously, it sounds like his parents are kind of getting on it and helping support him the best that they can. He's talking to someone. The worry bug thing. I mean, I don't have all the details, but I think it's helpful. Like it's great when people can get in the head of a 6-year-old and kind of help them make sense of just what's going on there in language that they would understand, in ways that are going to resonate with them. So again, I don't know what the worry bug conversation is exactly, but I can fill in the blanks and kind of assume, that yeah, this isn't him, that there is this little worry bug that shows up in everybody's heads. Even adults, especially adults. We maybe don't have to tell them, especially adults, but I do think for kids to see, yeah, even adults have this at times, where our mind, this worry bug or however it's being presented, we have this little computer in our head, this little bug. So many different metaphors you can use for this. Its job is to worry. This is what I think is so helpful. And again, this everything that I'll share around sharing this is great for adults as well, but in 6-year-old language, as close as we can get, its job is to worry. It worries, meaning it thinks about things that might happen that aren't actually happening. It makes up stories about things and says, oh, this might happen. That could happen. Again, help him see as much as possible. These things are not actually happening. But our mind, or this little worry bug, will make up stories, just like the stories he reads in books, just like fairy tales and movies and all of that, about things and say, hey, this could happen. And while that scares us and it has us feeling afraid and it has us, even adults, kind of not realizing what's real and what's a story, which is what happens, right? The lines between what's real and what's an imaginary story get a little blurred, just like they do in the books that he reads and the movies he watches at times. That's the drawback. The line gets a little bit blurry, but this worry bug, or his mind, however it's presented, it makes this stuff up and it says it might happen because it's trying to help him. It's not an enemy. This isn't a mean bug. This is a super nice bug. It's just a bug that isn't as smart as he is. He's smarter than the bug. So he has to kind of know, okay, there's this little bug in there. It's trying to protect me. So it makes up a bunch of stuff that could happen. And that stuff's not really happening. This is the fictional part. This is the story part. But it's making up this stuff and telling me that it could happen. And then I'm feeling afraid of it when I believe it. But that worry bug is my friend. That worry bug is there just to try to help me predict the future, because in general, when a brain can kind of predict the future, it lives to see another day. Now, you probably aren't going to describe evolution to your 6-year-old grandson, but just so we all know, that's what's going on, right? All this worry, all this prediction, trying to predict, attempt at prediction, is because in the long haul, big picture, it was advantageous to be able to predict things. It made you survive longer. And so our brain still tries to do that. So I think this is great. Anything that, again, helps him, if he's into bugs, most 6-year-old boys are, and it doesn't creep him out, and it sounds like something that can be a nice bug that's in there, wonderful. Now, I've seen many things used, and bubbles were always really popular with the kids that I've spoken with. Bubbles being like, oh, our thoughts are like bubbles. They look really real, that you can watch a bubble, you can watch it form, you can watch it for a little while, but pretty soon it pops. And when you touch it, it pops. And that's kind of how our thoughts are, right? They feel so real and so solid, but they pop all by themselves. Even when you don't touch them, they pop all by themselves. And then they're gone. And I love that about the bubbles, because it brings in that piece that it sorts it out on its own. The snow globe is always a popular one, again, with kids and adults, because it helps see, yeah, everybody's head does this. Everybody's bug runs around and worries. Everybody's head gets full of bubbles. Everybody's head gets shaken up like a snow globe, and we feel so many feelings when that's happening. But the snow globe settles down all by itself every single time. So you can see, again, I think it's great that a 6-year-old boy, if you're talking about bugs, that's probably right up his alley. For different ages and different kids, it'll be different things. But whatever it is, the key of it, the essence, is to help him see that he is okay, that what he's feeling is okay. It's not just him. It's supposed to be that way. There really is, even with things like anxiety, even with things like with anything, there really is so much intelligence behind it. It's just misunderstood, and I think, again, you wouldn't use that language necessarily with a 6-year-old, but to help him see there's nothing wrong here. We just want to feel safer in what's happening. There's nothing wrong. His mind is worrying just like minds are supposed to. That's what minds do. It's just that the bug isn't all that smart, so it's not all that helpful. But if he can kind of see, wow, there's nothing wrong. I just want to kind of see that I'm really safe and these things are happening for a reason, but I don't have to listen to them or trust them or pay so much attention. It helps so much. And the really important piece in all this is that he's not the bug, he's not the bubbles, he's not the snow globe, whatever metaphor you're going to use. Who he really is a part of him that doesn't worry, that is safe and secure. And for my kids at this age, and even now, we always talked about that feeling you have just as you're falling off to sleep at night. So you're cozy in your bed. There's no problems. It's clear. I love this one too, because there's nothing in your bedroom with you, right? Like the fight you had with your friend or the homework that's due tomorrow, the test you're worried about, whatever. It's not in your bed. You're just right here in this moment in your nice cozy bed. And as you start to fall asleep at night, all of the thoughts of that stuff just kind of fall away. And you feel safe. You feel warm. You feel secure. Help him see that while this bug might run around only because it loves him, because it's trying to help him and protect him, but we don't need that kind of protection. As this bug's running around, he's okay. He's the one who's always okay, who can notice that there's worry, notice the feelings he's feeling. He is so much bigger than the thoughts and the feelings. So that's the piece too that I think is so huge. And interestingly, with children, I think that's the piece to really emphasize, and that they get so much more. So when I'm working with adults, for example, we have to talk a lot about the nature of thought. We have to talk a lot about how worry works and how our mind works and why would we be worrying if it's not true and all of that kind of stuff. Because as adults, we've spent a lot of time getting really caught up in the experience piece. Then as we see our experience more for what it is, we start to feel who we truly are, all that peace and security behind it, or bigger than it. With kids, you don't need that so much. That's what's been, for me, the little sharing I've done with kids is so amazing in that way. And this is the key difference, is that with kids, you don't have to go too much into, oh, your mind makes stuff up like a fairy tale. That's good. They've only been doing that for a few years as it is. So even though it's a scary experience, they can kind of get that. What you get to point more toward is that peace and that love and that security, that part of them that is them, that doesn't worry, the home piece. And they are so much closer to that sometimes than adults are, and they don't have all the yeah buts in the way. They just believe it, they feel it, they're closer to it. So you get to spend a lot more time there, so yes, he feels all these big feelings, and they're very scary at times, but he can see probably more easily and quickly than a lot of adults that he is not those feelings. They will come and go, and he is okay. There is a him in there that is always okay. I'd spend more time talking to that. You'll see. You just have to see when you're in the conversation what's resonating with someone. I'd spend more time there, especially if you see his eyes light up and you see him look a little relieved, because that is so much closer for him than it is for a lot of people. And that's where it's really at. That's where it's really at anyway. So I'm so glad you asked this, Peggy, and that he has you. I mean, he's so fortunate to have you, to have a bit of this bigger understanding, to just throw in the little pointers here and there, and again, I know he's seeing a psychologist and all. I'm sure, everyone's doing the absolute best they can see to do for him, and that's great. And the more he just knows, again, that everybody's mind worries, because that's just what minds do. They're trying to protect us. The less he's going to feel like he has a particular problem, there's something wrong with him. That's the last thing we want, and it isn't true. There's nothing wrong with him. We just get caught up in our experience, and he's so close to home. We all are. So thank you for asking, Peggy. Thanks for letting me get to share a little bit of this. I'm sure it's helpful for a lot of people, and I think especially right now, I mean, with kids, there's a lot of kids that I know, my kids' friends and stuff, who have a lot of worries right now. There's a pandemic, they're not going to school, they're seeing family members sick, they're worried about their parents getting sick or themselves getting sick. There's so much in their little lives right now that wasn't even here, just a year ago. So the more they can just see, yes, a mind will jump to stories and make them up, trying to protect us, but what's real is right here. What's real is what's in you when your mind gets quiet. How amazing that they have this opportunity to see that more clearly at such a young age, and to take that with them into everything that they're up against through life. So thanks, Peggy. I hope this is helpful. Send your questions to AskAmy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com. Questions about anything: anxiety, the holidays, habits, what's going on for you, relationships, anything at all. I love to speak to these questions. And if you want to see more about sharing this with children or adults, if you're considering the Change Coach training, I am doing a Q&A session a week from today on December 7th. Probably the last Q&A session before the program fills, just to answer all the questions that you might have lingering. So I'll put the link in the description here, and you can register for that Q&A if you're interested. So thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you back here next Monday.